And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday. I apologize for there being no show yesterday. There were some scheduling issues on my end. I apologize for that. So I wasn't able to do the show yesterday. I did have some shorts that came out later in the evening, but we're back again, and we're actually starting an hour late. Show's going to be a little shorter today. We had some issues, getting the stream ready, but we're here, and we're able to come at you guys with some content here, of course. So again, it's just a calamity of things went wrong these last couple of days, but hopefully, and again, that's always going to happen. So obviously, we're going to keep going forward, and hopefully this doesn't occur again. But again, it is what it is. So with that, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We're going to basically recap everything from Week 9. Some injuries, of course, as well. We'll go over as well when we go through all the games. But so we're going to start off the show, of course, by talking about the Dolphins-Chiefs game. But again, actually, before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, to become part of the show, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, your comment gets highlighted in the chat, and I talk about it. And that's a great way for you guys to become part of the show. So make sure to go ahead and do that. So with that, let's get into what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start off by talking about the Dolphins-Chiefs game. We're going to talk about all the Dolphins frauds because that's something that has definitely come up a lot on social media. So we'll get into that. We'll also get into talking about the Bengals-Bills game. I always combined both of their team names. We'll get into that. Then we will recap the early window games from Sunday, as well as the late window games and the Monday night game from yesterday between the Jets and the Chargers. So with that, let's get right into the first topic of the show, and that is talking about the Dolphins. And are they frauds? Now, I look at the Dolphins as still being a very good team. However, they are 0-3 against teams that are over 500. And that is something that is very concerning. Now, they did almost come back against the Chiefs. They were down 21-0 for a majority of this game. Well, they scored 14 points in the third quarter. But I mean, they couldn't get anything going. Tyreek Hill fumbled, which led to a return for a touchdown by Brian. I think Brian Cook, right? That's Brian Cook on the Chiefs. Well, first of all, Edwards, he recovered the fumble, and then he lateraled it to Cook, who ran it back 59 yards for a touchdown to put them up 21-0. Mahomes had 2 passing touchdowns in this game. One was to Rashee Rice, who continues to emerge as one of Mahomes' top weapons in this offense. And the Chiefs really need it because their wide receiver position is not very strong at the moment. And then you look at Jarrett McKinnon. He also had a return. He had a 17-yard touchdown reception, so that was big in that game. So the Chiefs, I mean, listen, they got the win, but the Dolphins, I mean, you definitely got to be concerned a little bit here with what's going on. I mean, you're one of the more high-powered offenses in the league, and you got shut out in the first half. But then Tua, he threw a 31-yard touchdown pass to Cedric Wilson, and then Raheem Mostert, a 13-yard touchdown run. Mahomes, and actually, what's crazy, I just looked at this now. The Dolphins actually, they had a little bit more of time. Both teams almost had the ball like almost the same amount of time. The Dolphins had it for 30 minutes and 24 seconds. Chiefs had it for 29 minutes and 36 seconds. Mahomes is 20 of 30, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions on the day. Tua was 21 of 34, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So, I mean, the Chiefs' offense, I mean, they continue to struggle a little bit. The defense, they forced a turnover that led to 7 points. But, Yeah, and I talked about this. This was a big game for both teams. I mean, if you lose, you could end up being like the third or fourth seed in the AFC, and that's exactly what happened to the Dolphins. Right now, at this current moment, they are the fourth seed in the AFC. The Chiefs are tied with the Ravens for the top two. Right now, they're tied for the number one seed. Ravens look really good after a blowout win against Seattle. But the Dolphins, yeah, I mean, you lose to the Eagles, you lose to the Bills, and now you lose to the Chiefs. So a lot of people are kind of doubting them right now. And, even Mike McDaniel has said we got to change the narrative. That's exactly what they got to do. They have to change the narrative because right now, fans are looking at this team as kind of being a fraud. You look at the teams that they've beaten this year. They beat the Chargers, who, they're coming off of a big win against the Jets yesterday to get themselves back to 500. But the Chargers, I think, are a respectable team, even though their defense at times has not been good. I mean, last night they were great, but that's because they were going up against a bad offense. They beat the Patriots. They blew out the Broncos, the 70-20 game. They beat the Giants. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Patriots again. I mean, all the teams that they've beaten are not very good. Outside of the Chargers. Then they go on a bye. They play the Raiders, at the Jets, at the Commanders, home against the Titans, home against the Jets, home against the Cowboys, at the Ravens, and then home for the Bills. Listen, they got something they got to prove. And right now, it's not looking good for the Dolphins when you're talking about them going up against teams that are, over 500. They have a losing record. So, that's really it when it comes to the Dolphins. I think this team is still very talented. I mean, they're hoping to get Achane back, who is having a great year. Their rookie running back. You hope that they get him back soon. And, it's just... We'll have to wait and see. But right now, I mean, you lose to three of the best. Right now the Bills don't look like one of the best teams in the NFL. They're trending down at the moment, and we'll get into that in the next segment. But it's not looking good right now. Not looking good. Not looking good right now for the Dolphins when it comes to like I said, the teams playing. How they play against teams that are over 500. The Chiefs. I mean, listen, they're 7-2. The offense still doesn't look great, but the defense has been playing really well. And if the offense is able to figure it out and be more consistent, I mean, it's going to be really tough to beat them. But right now, as it stands, you got them and the Ravens at 7-2 in the AFC. So, listen, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle for that number one seed. And then you got Jacksonville, who is on a bye. They play San Francisco next week, so I mean, there's a lot going on here, and as we are in the second half of the season, and there's a lot of football left to be played. So I mean, really, anything is possible, really. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes moving forward. So, I mean, let me know what you guys think. Are the Dolphins frauds? For me, I don't want to. I feel like fraud is kind of strong, just because they're so talented. But listen, they're a very good team that struggles against better teams. I mean, they play the Ravens. That's a team that I did mention last week. They beat in Baltimore, coming back against them. But yeah, I mean, you've lost to some of the best teams in the NFL, and that doesn't look good. So. With that, we are going to take our first break of the show now. And then when we come back, we are going to discuss now the Bengals and the Bills, talk about that game, and I'll give you my overall thoughts on that when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.